Hello, my name is Pena, and this is my course project for my dual enroll government class, and today I'm going to be going over the branches of government. It's by me. The link to my video will be put right here. You all obviously know that. Here we go. Okay, so the Constitution is what separates our government into three different parts. So you have the legislative, the executive, and the judicial branches. So each of them do different things, and they have different powers to make sure everything's fair through checks and balances. So the legislative is split up by Congress into the House of Representatives and the Senate. The executive branch has the president and the vice president, but it also has things such as the cabinet. And then the judicial branch has the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court leaders. Okay, we're going to start off with the legislative branch. First off, you have the Congress and the state legislative. So your bills, or the bills I guess, go through the state legislative, and that's where a lot of them get kind of like cut down. So if it's like not really good, they'll send it back to the maker or the starter of the bill and have them maybe redo it. That way they can go through it again. But if it does pass through here, then it moves over into Congress. And now Congress is where a lot more of them get cut down. You know, maybe it's something the state missed, or it's just something that the Congress really doesn't like at that moment, or not something the U.S. needs at that moment. And finally, if it does make it through Congress, then they send it to the executive branch. All that information was found right here. Here we go. All right, so this is going more in depth in the legislative branch. This is going in depth into Congress, which is split into two powers, the Senate and the House of Representatives. The Senate is made up of 2 representatives from every 50 state. So that leaves us with 100 representatives. And to be a representative, you have to be at least 30, and you have to be a U.S. citizen. That's big parts. Legislative Part 3. Now, on the other hand, you have the House of Representatives. That is made up of 435 different individuals, and unlike the other one, this is not based off of 2 from each state. It's based on population. So say like the example right here, New York has 26 people. Well, North Dakota only has 1, because it really wouldn't be fair if New York had 1 vote and so did North Dakota, because that just wouldn't make sense. Again, that's how we keep everything equal and fair. Now the executive branch. The executive branch is kind of split up into federal and state laws. The executive branch houses the president, the vice president, and the cabinet. So after bills go through the first branch, the legislative branch, and it goes through state and then Congress, and they send it to here. And if the president really enjoys the bill or likes the bill, he can slap his signature on it, and then boom, that's put into our constitution, or put into our laws. Executive Part 2, the president is responsible for more than 347 million Americans, so that's you, me, that's everyone in the state of Georgia, that's everyone in the United States. So he's responsible for implementing and enforcing the laws written in the Constitution, and also making sure that he has people implementing and enforcing the laws of the Constitution. This includes his cabinet, that ensures proper actions are made, that makes sure that he doesn't do anything that breaks the checks and balances. That also makes sure that he kind of keeps everything flowing properly, and the cabinet's there just to make sure that he doesn't get overworked, and so is the vice president. Moving on to the executive branch Part 3. This is going more in depth on the cabinet and the independent federal agencies. Now these are responsible for the day-to-day law enforcement and federal laws. So these department agencies have missions and responsibilities as widely diverse as those of the Department and Defense and Environment Protection Agency. So these are your police officers and your people like that just, again, help the president keep everything smooth and running properly, I should say. All right, next we're going to take a step into the judicial branch. Now the judicial is split into federal and state once again. So you have the state level, which is going to be state people like me and the state representatives. And you have federal leaders such as more higher ups like the Supreme Court, people like that. So the judicial branch interprets and applies laws resolving legal disputes. So that's judges, court people, all that stuff. And eventually, if the jury can't come to a legal or proper dispute, then it could continue climbing the ranks until it gets to the federal level and goes to the Supreme Court. Judicial Part 2, the judicial branch can check and balance both the legislative branch and the executive branch. That's what this stands for right here, I believe. So it makes sure that not only does the executive branch, like the president, not have too much power, but it also makes sure that the legislative branch and the people writing the bills and the laws don't have too much power. This is, again, the whole branches of government is kind of just like this big web of like he controls him, and he makes sure he doesn't have too much power, and he keeps everything flowing properly. The U.S. Supreme Court can also provide the president from taking action that violates or separates of powers. So that means impeachment, or even if they vote out the president before he's even in office. The judicial branch, part 3. The judicial branch is made up of the Supreme Court and federal courts. So the law, or not the law, but the court case such as Plessy versus Ferguson went all the way to the Supreme Court, so it was a really big thing. U.S. district courts, so that's going to be our smaller courts, like just like smaller claim courts, stuff like that. Okay, that is it. Thank you.